What primitive Neanderthals these 21st century men were. You would not trust 12th century science, would you? That conjures up imagery of bloodletting with leeches and drilling holes in people's heads. Yet, if you lived back then, and you, as you say, believe in science, would you not trust in just that? It is a good thing that we live in the 31st century, well beyond these crazed archaic notions of the 2020s. In the previous chapter, we learned of the Red Scare and the Satanic Panic of the 20th century, as well as the alcohol prohibition of the 1920s. However, all of that was blown out of the water. Hysteria around the 2020s disease, as we now call it, has all of these beat. Technocracy, or dictatorship of the expert, was a far more insidious form of authoritarianism than fascism or communism, although functions by similar means. Of course, you can see how ridiculous it would be to let experts in trephination and leech management rule over the globe. Yet, 21st century peoples did the equivalent of just that. The 21st century was when the scientists truly became the new priests, spouting predictions of the end times, spreading fear, and keeping the masses in line. This digital Protestantism was the dominant view at the time, despite laughable claims of the societies of that era being neutral and irreligious. The Church of the 2020s, via the saints of Silicon Valley, had an ingenious way of allowing the adherents of the faith to pray and confess their sins. Through social media apps, these digital Protestants could self-flagellate all day long and be forgiven by their peers, who did the same. These handheld confessionals were clung to more vehemently than holy books were held by the most devout of missionaries. Of course, some used these devices and applications for other purposes, but they were deemed heretical. The Reformation of the 2020s was a scary place for apostates, as anyone who refused the new form of baptism, that being vaccination, was essentially exiled and branded a heretic. Excommunicated by the digital Protestant establishment, the outsiders, who we'll refer to as cyber-pagans, stood steadfast against their oppression. These cyber-pagans created an agorist network of renegades in order to live and thrive in spite of the online regime. How did the cyber-pagans fare? Well, that's in the next chapter. Tomorrow's reading. Class dismissed.